Joining us here on a Gallen of Questions podcast from the CBS Sports Golazo network. She's part of a brand new show called Attacking Third. It's all about women's soccer. She's also from Philly. She lives in Philly. She's from the area. Lisa Carlin's with us. Hi, Lisa. How you doing?
I am good, Pat. 8 days until the World Cup. I've been counting it down, like the hours as well. I woke up and I was like, 8 days and 22 hours. So I am very excited about it, and I'm even more excited to be here and talk to you about it. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Yeah, I know that you're a pro at this, so we thought, why not have you on? But before we talk about soccer, talk about your Philly roots. You're from the area. You live here still, yet you represent us on more of a global stage now.
Yes, I grew up in Montgomery County, and soccer was my life from day one. I was an FC Delco gal growing up, and then I went to college in the Midwest at Marquette, and I'm fortunate enough to be back in Philly. I represent it very hard during the sports season. You'll know from my talk about soccer, whether it's the Union, the Eagles, the Phillies, Flyers, Sixers, whatever, I am all about it 100% of the time. And I am very fortunate and lucky to get to talk about the women's game mainly. And we don't have a professional team back here in Philly yet. We're going to work on it in the NWSL or professional, like top tier women's league. It's going to come back here. It's just a matter of time.
Do you think, like, if you had to put a guess on it, how long?
So next year, 2024, there's going to be 2 more teams entering the NWSL, which is the Bay Area in like Northern California, and then Utah Royals, and then 2 more teams after that in 2026. And they want to keep growing it. But there's also been another announcement of a top tier professional women's soccer league coming to the States. So I don't know. I'd give it, the want is here in Philly. Enough people want it to happen. It's just a matter of if the city can support it, where are they going to play, investors. It comes down to a lot of financial situations at that point and logistical situations. I don't know. I'm hoping in the next 7 years to put a number on it.
Okay. I'll take that.
It actually starts, right? The announcement comes in 5 years and then we get it in 7.
I think we're also ready for a WNBA team as well, but we've got to jump through some hoops for that too. But that's for another time, another topic. But I want to talk about the new show that you're part of on the CBS Sports Golazo network. It's called Attacking Third, all about the women's game. It starts soon. Give us the rundown. Give us the breakdown of the new show.
Yeah, Pat, this is massive, not just for CBS Sports Golazo and the women's game, but really for the coverage of women's soccer. I launched the Attacking Third podcast with CBS 2 years ago today, actually, as we're doing this on July 12th. So it is the 2-year anniversary of the podcast and a show. And alongside my co-host, Sandra Herrera, we've been able to grow this podcast and digital show into an entire platform and a brand for CBS, talking about women's soccer. And just 8 days away from the World Cup, what better time to launch a studio show with CBS Sports Golazo Network. So you can watch Attacking Third now every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, year round at 4 o'clock Eastern on the Paramount Plus app or the CBS Sports app or Pluto TV, anywhere that you can get Paramount Plus and the Golazo Network. We'll be there talking United States women's national team, World Cup, NWSL, and the entirety of women's soccer with the Super League and transfers and trades and European soccer. There is so much content to cover, but of course we're launching it at the perfect time. First studio show will be Monday the 17th, talking all things World Cup. It is very exciting. And of course, there's a stellar cast that is joining us on this show to break down everything with interviews and analysis and previews and recaps of games. It'll be fully extensive coverage of the women's game.
All right, we're gonna clip that and we're gonna send that to the bosses up in New York because they're gonna love everything you just said. It sounds like it's gonna be a great show.
It's clear that I'm very passionate about it. I mean, the show is almost like my baby over the last 2 years, and the game really is what deserves all this coverage and the growth of it.
No doubt about that. Congrats on that. Good luck with the start of it. So that's obviously why you're here. You know all about the women's game. It begins, as you said, in 8 days. It's coming. It's coming quick. And the U.S. women's national team is the favorite. They're looking for their 5th title overall, their 3rd title in a row. They've got talent. We know that. But when you look at the entirety of the group, what makes them so special? Why are they the favorite?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of champagne problems for the United States and coach Vlatko Andonovski, because despite dealing with a number of injuries dating back to midfielder Sam Ewis, who was part of that 2019 winning team, to Katerina Macario, to forward superstar Mallory Swanson, there's always been that next player up mentality for this team. And that's where the champagne problems come in, because despite a player having to be called in halfway through a camp because they didn't make the initial roster, they're still top talent and they're still one of the best. And that's kind of why it works for this United States team. Not only have they already been to the World Cup as a country, they've won it, as you mentioned, 4 times. They're looking to go for a three-peat, their third straight time winning it. And the Americans have this never say die mentality that a lot of different countries and nations talk about, that when they go up against the United States, it's not a cocky behavior. Instead, it's more of an exuding confidence that these players have, that they've been told that they're great, that they believe that they are great, and they believe that overcoming adversities, whether it's in the 2021 Tokyo Olympics and winning bronze, that they can go out there, and if they believe in each other, they can get these things done. I think it stems back to the 1999 World Cup and being in America and the 99ers winning it. It's just been a blood force that has pumped through the veins of the U.S. players up until now.
So we know that the team looks a little bit different, unless you're living under a rock. Carly Lloyd is no longer part of the team. Becky Sauerbrunn is hurt. She's not going to play. But you've still got the big names. You've still got Alex Morgan. You've still got Julie Ertz, Lindsey Horan, Crystal Dunn. But why is that group of veterans so important to the success they hope to have here?
Yeah, it's really a big mix on this roster of 23 players of veterans and young players. There are 3 players that are going to their 4th World Cup. You mentioned some of them: Megan Rapinoe, Kelly O'Hara, Alex Morgan, and then Julie Ertz and Alyssa Nair. This will be their 3rd World Cup. And in moments like the biggest tournament in the women's game, in the game of football itself, you have to rely on your veterans because they've been through this before, not just World Cups, but adversity, winning, losing, understanding what it's like to live in a camp in a World Cup situation, to travel between countries, to have a game and then have to fly 9 hours and prepare one day for another game against top competition in the world. I think U.S. head coach Vlatko Andonovski is going to lean on those veterans for their experience in the locker room, for getting the mindset right, for understanding team bonding, all those tiny little details that so many people forget about, all the way to Alyssa Nair starting in goal and having to be the goalkeeper number 1 for the number 1 team in the U.S. and relying on Alex Morgan to score goals and Megan Rapinoe to come in the last 10 minutes and knock down penalty kicks. Each player has a role, and the veterans' role on this team is arguably some of the most important of the entire tournament.
We love Julie Ertz here in Philly for obvious reasons. Yeah. Married to Zach Ertz. But she's barely played in the last, 2 years or so, right? So is she going to hold up, I guess, is the question.
Yeah, I think it's a good ask, Pat, for sure, because a lot of people haven't seen her do too much, and that's kind of the beauty and the bad part of social media and things like that. Because after the Olympics in 2021, Julie Ertz and Zach, right, legendary Eagles player, went and had their first baby, Madden, and after that, it was kind of like, is she ever going to return? During the offseason in the NWSL, her rights were transferred from Chicago to Angel City, which is the LA NWSL club. And during that time, she never appeared. The entire first year of Angel City's existence, she never showed up to the club. She never went to the stadium. She never went to the practice fields. And a lot of the talk and the rumors were, okay, she's going to retire and settle down with Zach and her new baby and stay closed in behind closed doors. And we didn't get to say goodbye. That wasn't the case. She'd been working out. She had been training. It came out that she had been practicing with an MLS Next Pro team, which is like a lower level academy team in the MLS, and training with boys for ever since she could get back out on the pitch after having her son. And with the new United States women's national team and the men's national team CBA, there's a clause in there that every coach has to invite back a player that was out on maternity leave. They have to come back into a camp for evaluation. So Julie Ertz made her way back into the United States women's national team training camp, and who knows if it was just to check off a box of the CBA, or it was because we needed Julie Ertz back, and we needed Julie Ertz back. It was very evident her first camp back. She was the destroyer that she had been in 2015, in 2019, and Ertz was back. So head coach for the U.S., Vlatko Andonovski, saying, Julie, you just got to sign with a club team. You got to get game minutes and play. And at that point, the European season was winding down, so all eyes pointed towards the NWSL. She signed with Angel City, and before long, I think it took maybe 5 or 6 weeks, and she was playing 90-minute matches in the NWSL. So we've seen her. She's got that gut instinct of going into tackles hard. She's the same player she was before. Arguably, she's better than she was before she had her baby, and then she was in the Olympics.
She is a machine. I can't wait to see what she's got up her sleeve over the next couple of weeks here. Of that group, Julie included, Alex Morgan, all those veterans, who do you think is the most important to their success?
Ooh, that's a really good question. There's a lot of different levels of importance. I think Alex Morgan is going to be, she's named one of the co-captains for this team. She'll be their starting 9, which is the starting center forward in a front 3 lineup. She'll be the central player because she is so versatile. She was the Golden Boot winner last year in the NWSL in the league. She can get in behind. She's good on breakaways. She's good back to goal. She can shoot from distance. She's good aerially. She has that aerial presence. She's going to be key for this team because she is a co-captain, because she's going to be dubbed with a starting role that may shift throughout the tournament, right? She is also a veteran, but has to understand if her role is one thing heading into the World Cup and maybe throughout the group stages, if some of the other players, and I'm looking at 18-year-old Alyssa Thompson or 22-year-old Trinity Rodman or Sophia Smith, if they continue to outperform, her role might shift. And as a veteran, she understands that, and she has those conversations with those younger players to say, hey, this is what we need from you now, and that may change. So I think it maybe sounds like a cheesy answer to say Alex Morgan, but it's so much more than just, hey, Baby Pony's going to score some goals for the U.S. Her role is different now than it has been in the 2015-2019 World Cup.
I'm glad you brought up some of the youngsters, too, because they are so crucial to this team. And, man, do they have a lot of it, too. And you mentioned Sophia Smith, who seems to have some otherworldly talent. She's got that smile on her face all the time, it seems. But she also seems like a bit of a killer. Talk about her and what she brings to the table.
Yeah, Sophia Smith is a killer, 100%. This is a player that has been in the NWSL. She plays with the Portland Thorns, a powerhouse team. She led them to the championship last year in the NWSL and ended up winning MVP of the title game after lifting both of those trophies. She went on in 2023 with the U.S. international squad, just scoring goals. She couldn't be stopped, and that's what's so impressive. She's also got a lot of versatility. She's a forward, and she'll play as the 9 for her club team, but with the U.S. and under Vlatko Andonovski, she'll play more of the 7-11, so 2 of the winger players up top for the U.S. She can send crosses in. She's crafty on her feet. She's got great agility and footwork, and she's also got speed, but it's not the speed that can just burst past defenders. She's got more of like a quick spark to her. So she'll lure the defenders in, do a quick move, and then break away. And before you know it, she's got 3 yards on the defender already, and she's got space to run. She's really fun to watch, Pat. She really is, because she's got a smile the entire time she's playing. She's out for blood. She's out to score goals, but she's there to have fun. And as you're watching her, you can't help but smile and have fun with her, wishing you were like passing along with her, honestly.
That's my favorite kind of player, too. The one that's like kind of lures you in. Like, yeah, she's not that serious. She's got a smile on her face, and then boom, she punches you right in the mouth. How about Trinity Rodman? People clearly know the last name. She's Dennis Rodman's daughter, but I've got to believe that you're going to tell me it's a lot more than just that last name. She can play as well, and she's one of the main stars on this team. Can you talk about her? Give her a scouting report for Trinity Rodman as well.
I'd argue that her last name didn't do anything for her to get her where she is right now. It was all her skill, her mentality, her commitment to the game. She signed one of the biggest contracts in the NWSL, and she burst onto the national team seen as a player that the coaches were going to take really slowly. And they had done it in the past. I mean, you look at Mallory Swanson, formerly Mallory Pugh. She was 16 years old on the team, and they put a lot of pressure on her to be the superstar that she was. With Trinity Rodman, they didn't want to do that. They wanted her to be built up really slow throughout this program, maybe get 10 minutes here, 15 minutes here, just not put a lot of pressure on her because they didn't need her to be a superstar. She wanted to be a superstar, and not for the limelight, because she likes to play and she didn't want to be on the bench. So she went out in her club season with Washington Spirit and completely dominated. She started most recently for the United States on the bench in their send-off series against Wales just last weekend. She came on at halftime. So she had 45 minutes to prove herself and why she deserves to be a starter at the World Cup. Pat, you know what she did? She went out and scored 2 goals. She got a brace in that game. The only 2 goals that the U.S. scored throughout that friendly, and Rodman gets both of them. The maturity really is something for Rodman that has been the growth of her. In her first professional year, in her first few minutes with the U.S., she was taking on too many defenders, trying to do that extra thing, always looking to get the shot off, not necessarily thinking of the whole and what could be best for the group, instead trying to prove herself. She has grown so much over the last 2 years. Every time she gets the ball, it's how do I make this team better? Who can I pass to? Can I shoot and get a shot off? Or what's the best option in this moment? And that's something that has proved her to be on this team going to the World Cup is her maturity and her soccer IQ and what she's able to do and how she sees the game so well.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think I've done my homework. One of those goals was a cross from Sophia Smith, was it not?
It was. That dynamic duo is chef's kiss for sure.
Chef's kiss. Who else of that youth movement do you think is important to their success over the next few weeks?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I mean, Sophia Smith and Trinity Rodman are massive players. I think a lot of times you can look to the youngest or the player that scores the most. Alyssa Thompson is a name that's going to come to a lot of people's minds. She was #1 draft pick, 18 years old. She went to Angel City straight out of high school, the first player to do that. And she's going to be a big part of this team, but she was only called in because of injuries to other players. So that's a lot of pressure on a young 18-year-old that just graduated high school, just went to her prom, and now is going to the World Cup. But as a former defender, I like to shout out the defense. And this is a player that is going to make waves this World Cup. Naomi Girma. She's a center back out of Stanford University. She's in her second professional year in the NWSL with San Diego Wave. She has been the starting center back for the United States over the last year and a half, frankly. Now with Becky Sauerbrunn, who has been the captain, over 200 caps for the U.S., missing this World Cup due to an injury, Girma is the one that steps in. She has started every game that she's played in throughout the 2023 year for the United States. And she won't be wearing the captain's armband officially for this World Cup, but she is a leader and a captain on this team. And I would not be surprised if she gets the armband moving forward and throughout the career of this U.S. She is the starting center back moving forward. And so much of the team's organization and energy stems from the center backs. They're the ones that drive the ship and direct everyone. So Naomi Girma, for sure, a name to know, a player to watch throughout this tournament.
All right, United States is the favorite. I know England is good. I know Spain is pretty good. I'd be lying if I said I knew anything about those teams, but that's why you're here. Who else of the field do you think has the potential to score an upset over the United States?
Yeah, I love this because this World Cup is different than any other World Cup. 32 teams, the biggest World Cup that the women have ever had. There are 8 debutante nations making their first appearance. I think some of those debutantes could frankly go far, get out of their group stage. I look at Ireland, I look at Portugal. They're going on a run right now. But in terms of the heavyweights in this World Cup, every single nation has unfortunately dealt with bad injury. I think France is a nation that can go really far. They've got Wendy Renard back as their center back. She scored 4 goals as a center back in the 2019 World Cup, one of those against the United States. But they just lost Amadine Henry, a very good player for them, just last week due to an injury. But France, definitely a team that everyone needs to keep an eye out on. And Brazil. Brazil has been ranked low in the odds, low in the power ranking, low in the FIFA rankings. Brazil is going to make noise. They've got incredibly talented players. Knock on wood, they haven't dealt with a lot of injuries, so they've had a core group of players over the last several months leading into this tournament that they're going to be tough. They're going to be really tough to go up against, and I think people are sleeping on Brazil.
I'm still going to put my money on the United States. Call me crazy. I'm going to do it anyway.
I like it.
Before,
Me too.
before I let you go, you're in Old City, right? Like
I am.
You live in the city. I live in Penn
right
Sports.
now.
I live in South
that's
Philly.
where I'm doing this from right now. Old City.
Nice. So I'm down in Penn Sport. Right between us is Queen Village, and Jim Curtin is essentially the mayor of Queen Village. If you've walked around, you basically see his red hair flopping around throughout Queen Village. He's sticking around until 2026. I know you're a Union fan. You worked for the team too, did you not?
Yes, I'm the radio color analyst for the Union, so I'll be on the call this Saturday. You can listen on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Beautiful, beautiful. So then you've got to be excited to hear that Jim's sticking around for a while.
Massive. He wants to win a cup, right? Like, that's the dream for Jim Curtin. He talks about coming home to Philly all the time. That's where he's from. His wife is from. Yeah, I see him at CVS all the time. We're like rubbing elbows, picking up our prescriptions. But
what's up, Coach?
It's huge that he has signed this contract extension. He has brought this team to the success that they have found right now. They're all like a little bit of Jim Curtin run around on the field. For those that don't know, when Jim played, he was a center back. He's a really tall guy, but the most friendly. And his identity as a soccer player and as a soccer coach is hard work, blue collar, grit. And that's the type of team he has built here in Philadelphia. And they came so close. They could taste it last year in MLS Cup, losing heartbreakingly. I won't even bring it up because it still makes me sad. Losing in penalty kicks against LA, he wants that back. And I think the Philadelphia Union organization understands that Jim is the coach to get them there and to get them onto that next step. I am jazzed that he is here to stay.
Yeah, we were on the field. This is a little bit of a humble brag, but at the World Series, had the laptop on the warning track. People were gathered around watching that. Saw the goal that put them ahead, and then we had to watch and witness that brutal ending. But you're right, it was a heartbreaker. But Jim wants it bad. He's a good man, a good Philadelphian, and we're glad to see he's sticking around. You're an awesome Philadelphian as well. We appreciate you. This took more time than I thought it would, but you gave such good information. I think it's all good, right?
Yeah, I mean, we had a great chat here. Thanks for having me. I am always down to talk soccer, sports, Philadelphia. Next time we'll talk some cheesesteaks and where Jim Curtin hangs out, all the things.
Always see him when I pick up my dry cleaning. He's the best. And you are too. Lisa, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Pat.